We all want to create more impact in the world. We all want to leave our mark, to be remembered for something, to do something that we feel is of value and importance. But sometimes we're not sure what that thing is or how to do the thing. There's a lot of talk and emphasis on releasing negative things. But what if, for just a moment, really 90 minutes, we were to sit with and do a process that allowed us to connect with our muchness, right? I love that word. It's not really a word, but it should be. The greatness, the wonder, the magnificence of who we are. And I know that might make you cringe, or you may think, oh, she's talking about somebody else. She's not talking to me, but I am. I'm talking about you. We've all heard that we are limitless beings. Albert Einstein, Buddha, and a whole pile of people in between have said this because they've glimpsed that immensity of who we can become. But sometimes for ourselves, it's harder to see it. It's easier to see it in others, isn't it? It's easier to see how to help people and what they could do to do things better. And that's why there's a huge amount and a wonderful amount of coaches and counselors and guides of all different kinds and all different traditions. But the real work is within ourselves. Now, yes, we need to do all the meditation and whatever practices that we feel are suitable for us to be the best version of ourselves. But what if there was a way in just one session to connect with and see and feel and hear what it would be like for you to become the very best version of yourself? My name is Donna Brown, and I'm a business mentor, business designer, and creative. And this is what I want to share with you. This profoundly transformational process that is easy to do. That's focused on how much we can be, how much more compassionate or generous or funny or kind that you can be. How would you feel if that's the way you felt? How would our world be if we were all more of what we value? If you value being, if I were a good friend, if I were sensitive or compassionate or patient or generous, and I always include funny, or if I were funnier, or if I were more playful, how would that feel? What would that look like? How would my life and my business and my relationships change? And how would the world change if I brought that? And what would that look like? So you get a big vision of the feeling and sort of the full-blown vision of what that could be like. But this process also shows you the next steps, because there can be such a disconnect between where we are now and where we would like to be. Quite often, that's where we get lost. I'll never be that. I could never do this. But that isn't true. This simple technique that was not created by me, that was created by a wonderful former Buddhist nun, and is taught at a university in their social work faculty, and has the patronage of the Dalai Lama, transformational mindfulness methods. This method allows you to really access your inner wisdom, to feel what it would feel like in your body, because our mind and body need to work together. They're not separate. They need to work in harmony. And it shows you how it would feel, what it would look like. It uses all your senses to show you what that would be like if you were to be more. This process is so accessible that it can be used with children, it can be used with people of all ages and of all backgrounds, let's say, to release things, but also to create. And here I'm in creative mode. I feel that we spend a lot of time, rightly so, looking at the negativity. But what if we were to spend some time and some energy focusing on the positive. And I don't mean in a love and light and bypassing everything else way. What I mean is taking a concrete look at what that would look like and what that would feel like if I were to bring that to the table. I know that the world would be a very different place. And I'm pretty sure you know that too. The science behind this is based on creating new neural pathways. It's based on body memory. And there's a lot of creative visualization and a meditation that goes with it. So it's really a kind of like a practice that's 360 that takes into account your science and the spirit. Because again, there really is no separation between those two things. And this moves into the concept of a very holistic way of being and living. There's no more work-life separation. There really never was. It was kind of drummed into us for different reasons. But the truth is that we are just ourselves. And our purpose is to be our best selves possible. And that's our best self in our relationships, in our businesses, in what we create, if we're creatives. But we're all creative, actually, that's a little secret. And so what is it that we want to do? What is it that we want what is it that we dream of? I think quite often we don't even allow ourselves that dream. We've been so conditioned to immediately check to see if the dream is possible, check to see if it makes any sense, check to see if there's something about it that could go wrong, or, you know, what are the objections and what are the obstacles that I could find in my path, and we focus a lot on that. And I think sometimes we make ourselves smaller and smaller and smaller until quite often we don't do anything at all. But your inner self, your higher self, that inner wisdom isn't affected by things like that, and has that sort of far-reaching gaze, kind of like an eagle soaring above, and can just see how far and how beautiful and how wonderful things could be. Without all of that conditioning of what if, and I don't have this, and what if I don't know that, but I can't do this, I can't do that, I don't know anybody, all those things that we tell ourselves. So this is a moment to connect to yourself, a moment to allow your body to remember that feeling, to recognize that feeling, to create that feeling, to allow it to come forward. If I talk about, let's say, I think we've pretty much all had the experience, the negative experience of eating something and then being sick to our stomach afterwards. And quite often we can't eat that food because if we think of the food or smell the food, we immediately associate it with the body's sensation of vomiting, right? And being sick to our stomachs. That's an example of how our body memory is so important. That's a lot of reason why, aside from the mechanical sort of re-education of physiotherapy and occupational therapy and stuff like that, is so that we also learn not to favor that part that was once injured. Way past, like forever and ever, for the rest of our lives, we could have a slightly different gait because we didn't remember to, because we never really got over that broken leg, or the memory, the body is holding the memory of, it's like, oh, that's the leg I have to be careful of. So just think of how powerful that is. And think of how powerful it is when we remember, I don't know, the smell of some food, that your favorite food when you were a kid, or our senses are so important to accessing our emotions and to accessing our imagination and to accessing our heart. So let's use these now to create something magnificent, to create something wonderful and powerful that can have, the next steps could be very, very small if you like. Because if you look at I always think of the trip to the moon. I always think of getting to the moon because it seems so crazy and far away. And at the time they spoke about it, it seemed like this crazy thing. And now we're so shocked to learn of all the women who are doing these amazing calculations by hand to figure out the math of getting there, and the orbits and how to get back into the Earth's atmosphere and all these different things. It was so, but it also came down to what will we make the spaceship of, and how will we hold it together, and what will they eat, and how will they go to the bathroom. All these things, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of little things needed to be thought of and created, resolved, designed something so that it could all come together. So the big vision is great, but without the execution and the minutia of planning and next step, things tend not to come together. So this practice will also show you your next steps. And what's wonderful about this practice is that you can go back to it again and again. Every time you need inspiration, every time you need to reconnect with that feeling that you want, the feeling that you want to create. If you feel like you're getting off track, or you feel like things are slightly, that they're not coming together, or you're not sure of what's next. We're so into the self-doubt and self-talk, and there's and how we speak to ourselves and how we automatically edit and limit our dreams and our desires. Go back to this with me, and we'll be talking about it also we'll do our session together, and we'll be going through for about a week, I think, with follow-up to see, so that we continue to deepen that and have our first sensation, our first taste, that first taste of what it feels like to take that first step. So join me on this journey. There's a link somewhere above, below. I'm not sure whether this is going to be on a page or a post or social media, where it's going to be, but join me. I cannot wait to see what ripples of wonder we bring forward.